my friends, and welcome back to my channel, Minimum Player Count. I'm Stephanie, and I am being joined by Aria today for this video. She's been really wanting to be in the videos, so here she is, and here she goes. Today we are going to be talking about my top 10 games of 2020. This list has changed a little bit over the past couple weeks as I've tried to play more of the games that came out in 2020. So let's look at my finalized list of my top games of 2020. Okay, so we're gonna be counting down from 10 to 1. So I'm gonna be starting with my number 10 pick of my top games of 2020. And that is going to be the Grand Carnival. This is a fun tile laying game where you are trying to build your carnival and also trying to gain more tourists towards your carnival. And it's a tile laying game, and they do some very clever things with the tickets and how you actually play this game. But I really enjoyed it, and it was actually a really surprising game when I played it. I also really enjoy the artwork of this game. When I saw the artwork, I just loved it. I think it's really unique, and I like the style of this game. But I will be doing a fuller review of this game soon so that you can see a little bit more about this game. But this is my top 10 pick of 2020. Now, moving on to number 9, we have Honeybuzz. And Honeybuzz, I did do a video on that, so I'll be linking that up for you if you want to see more about what this board game is about. But this is about building your hive and collecting honey to fulfill orders, and there's a lot going on in this game. It has beautiful components. I love the artwork of this game as well. This is by Elf Creek Games, and it is just a very fun and enjoyable game. There's a lot going on, and it feels like you're kind of struggling to manage all of your stuff that you have to do, but they do it in such a clever way with collecting different combs and how you do that it really just makes it very enjoyable for me. So again, if you want to see my full thoughts and review of this game, make sure to check that out at the link above. So now we're moving on to, let's see, I have a list over here making sure I say these correctly. New York Zoo. Again, this one is great artwork. I love the way it kind of has this like kind of pastel look to it. I love the way it looks. But in New York Zoo, you're going to be trying to build up your zoo. You are also trying to breed these animals in your zoo so that you can collect more points, and you're trying to fill up each of their own habitats with a full amount of animals for each of those habitats. So every tile that you put down, you'll be putting a specific animal in there, and then during certain times when you go across the board, you'll be breeding these animals and collecting points in that way. But it was very clever. I like how you're supposed to fill up a board with tiles, and you're really trying to play against the other person, but also paying attention to a separate board that you have that, you know, you go around and you're trying to actually complete these different tasks and seeing what animal is coming up next to be bred, or if you have an ability to collect a different animal, or if you're going to try to collect a tile that is very advantageous for you. But very fun game, New York Zoo. I will also be trying to do a video review of this one because, like I said, I enjoy it, and I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get as much information about these games that I enjoy as well. Number 7. Paris. Now, when I actually first saw this game, I thought that this might not be a game for me because it seemed like there was a lot going on. It's very Euro style, and I do like Euro games, but I was kind of thinking that this might have a little too much going on with it, though it had a really nice, you know, looking table presence. I didn't know if I, for a fact, would have liked the way it played, because it doesn't seem like some of the mechanics that I really enjoy. But man, it really surprised me when we played this, because you're placing different keys and you're trying to collect different areas in cities and stuff like that to try to collect them, and you're trying to gain or be the top number of the city so that you can gain the most points towards the end of it. And really there's a lot of different actions that you can do for this game, and you're really trying to pay attention to what your opponent's doing, but also strategizing what you're doing. And I love the board. I love how they came up with that circular modular board that they have. And I love that it has a big Arc de Triomphe. I don't know. I'm saying it really terribly, sorry if I butchered that. But it's really cool on the mechanics of this game. When I played this in a 2-player game, it was very fun and entertaining. We were trying to go back and forth, and it was actually very kind of like crunchy in the fact of we were going back and forth and trying to get as many moves as we can over the other person, and we were trying to like sneak in to try to gain one city over the other person and trying to make sure that we had a majority in specific areas. But I recommend checking this one out. Yes, 6th game. So now we're getting closer and closer to like my absolute favorites. So we have played this game, My City, a couple times, and I kept seeing this everywhere, and I was like, I want to try this game. I want to see what it's about. It's a legacy game where you're trying to build up your city, and every single game round you do has different rules, and it makes it a little bit harder and difficult. So you're going up in varying difficulties, and you're gaining points by, you know, who wins. But it is so much fun. It's a tile laying game. I love tile laying games. So this game was really surprising because when I played it, we just kept wanting to play it and play it and play it and play it because it was just so much fun, and I wanted to see what new things they would add. So I haven't finished this yet, but I absolutely love it. And I really hope that if you are watching this, that you would get this game and try yourself because it is great. Okay, so top 5, this is a game you probably haven't heard of. This is Zoo Tiles by Zoo Studios. This is a 2-player only game, and they are coming out with a second version. This one has 6 of the 12 zodiacs. The other one should have the other 6, and maybe some others if they come out with expansions for this game. But this is very fun. One person will get 3 zodiacs, the other person will get 3 zodiacs, and your goal is to make them into a happy square. So they're square tiles that you'll be placing out on the table, and the animals like to be next to animals that they like, which you will also see on the outer corners of the tiles. So when you're placing your tiles, you're trying to stop the other person from making a square so that you can make a square, and there's different tiles for actions and movements and things like that. So there's a lot of variability in this game, and amazingly that they're coming out with some more of these tiles, which I'm super excited to try and play. But Zoo Tiles by Zoo Studios, I recommend you checking this out if you like 2-player games. Calico. Calico is a very fun tile laying game. It is very strategic and kind of, I don't want to say deceitful. What am I trying to say? Deceiving. It is very deceiving when you look at the box. You think that it's going to be this really cute little game that, you know, shouldn't be too strategic. But when you start playing it, you realize how difficult it is. When I was playing it with my boyfriend, we were trying to like figure out which of the kind of patterns that we were going for. It was stressful, but it was so much fun as you're trying to figure out what you want to do and what kind of patterns you want to make to attract those adorable kittens to your quilts. But Calico is an awesome game. I recommend this one as well. Very fun for, 2 players, and if you're playing with more players, I'm assuming it'd just be just as fun. Sorcerer City. This is by Scott Caputo, by Druid City Games and Skybound Games. Sorcerer City is a real-time game, which this is kind of my first real-time game that I've actually played. I enjoy this game so much because though it has varying difficulty levels if you want to have more time versus, be faster and more difficult. But there's different monsters in here that you'll be putting out when you're playing this game to build your cities out. And you're really trying to connect these tiles by either color or by these shields. Shields will tell you kind of what you want to be next to them or what kind of combinations you're looking for. But it is very surprising of how deep this game goes for having such a cute cover. I really enjoy this. I've played this quite a lot actually, because we've been playing with some friends and I introduced it to other people. In some people who don't like real-time games, they enjoy this one. You also don't have to use a timer for this game, but for me it makes it just a little bit more strategic and harder to win this game. So I always play with a timer, and I feel like to get the most out of this game, you should play with a timer, but it can be played without it. But Sorceress City, Paleo. Another game that is probably not as well known, this is by Z-Man Games. This is a type of kind of legacy game. I have only played a couple of these, but man, when we were playing this, we just kept wanting to play and play and play. You're trying to survive in the Stone Age, and you have a certain amount of cave people in your tribe, and the other person will have another couple cave people in their tribe, and you're working cooperatively to try to survive and complete goals, which is, you know, getting enough spears to kill animals because you need to eat food, or having a tent. Each game is a little bit different and it adds new challenges, and I love this game. It was a big surprise for me. I saw this when I was watching Rahdo, and I was like, I think this game might be just like good enough that I was like, okay, let's try it out and see if I enjoy it. But man, I love this game. I love it's thematic, and when we're trying to play, we actually kind of create our own like stories of how things are actually happening, of, you know, our spear broke or whatever right before, and so we didn't actually have enough spears to hunt down that mammoth, or it trampled over one of our guys and killed him. But it's very fun. I recommend this one as well. It's again a deceiving game, but man, so fun. I can't wait to finish this all and give like a more in-depth review. I really enjoy as well how they have this little it's like a stand where you put these cards when you're trying to craft them, and when I was building that thing to actually see like how it worked, I was like, man, this is genius. But it looks so cool on the table, and it just adds a little bit more of a gameplay immersiveness that I really enjoy. So now, if you have seen any of my social media, you'll probably know what game is my number one. Oh. Dwellings of Eldervale. There we go. It's a big game. So, I got this game because I kept hearing everyone say, this is my number one game, this is my number one game. And I was like, is it though? Is it really? Like, I have my own opinions about games, and sometimes what games that I actually like, other people don't like, you know how that is. And for this game, I thought, that's a big game in a big box, it's got miniatures. Sometimes games like that don't really provide that much in-depth, I don't know, game strategy, things like that. But this is a worker placement game, which also has some combat, and if you know me, I don't like combat, but this is just rolling die, and really it's not that harsh in the combat. You are trying to, gain certain amounts of points in certain types of fields, as in like light or dark, or things like that. And sometimes there are cards that lets you control monsters. It's probably like a spoiler, but I had a card that let me do that, and I was just like, dude, this game is awesome because I control the monster, and it was amazing. And not only that is, they have its own little kind of game trays that stores everything for you for each faction, and each faction has something different that provides to each one of them. So you might have a little bit more strategic advantage in some areas while somebody else has something else. And man, it's just good. I mean, like, I thought that I would not like this game, but I love it. I was like, man, everyone was right. This game is amazing. I'm so happy I got the whole big legendary box with all the stuff, because this one is staying on my shelf forever. I love it so much, and it's amazing. And I recommend it to anyone to try it out. Believe me, even if you don't like combat or like big box games, you might just love this game like I do. But I want to thank you guys so much for joining me in my video of my top 10 games of 2020. I have been asked this question a lot, like just to make a top 10 game of whatever, and that's really hard for me because there's so many games that I just enjoy. So I was having a hard time picking 10 games, but then I was like, wait, I could do 10 in 2020. That should be easier. But I still had some hard times with that. So, speaking of, I want to give some honorable mentions to games that I played in 2020. Now let me pull up my list here. So, some games that I want to give some special attention to. Fossilis here. This is a very fun game. Again, it's very deceptive. I honestly thought, you know, especially with the company that actually, you know, or the publisher, that Kids Tables, this would be more of a kids game, not that strategic, not that great, but it was so fun. I enjoyed this. I love the way that there are different mechanics in this game that you really don't see in a lot of other games. I did learn some kind of hacks or like things that kind of break the game towards like the end of the game, but I'm not gonna say what those are. I want you to try to play this and find out if you like it as well. But a very fun game, again, very deceiving on the actual game box, but this one I got was a Kickstarter, so it has a bunch of different expansions that I'm really excited to try out and see what that brings to the game. And then another game that I'm not gonna bring down because it's all the way up there, Kingdom Rush. It's my first type of tower defense game that I've played. It was very cool because it was you know, nostalgic. I used to play Kingdom Rush all the time on my phone, but they did change some things to make it work very well for this game by, you know, fixing the, you know, how monsters spawn and how you actually will be able to fight and things like that. And even the heroes movement, I was wondering how like all that was gonna work, especially in this game, because I just knew the regular tower defense Kingdom Rush on my phone. And I think they did a pretty good job. I'm not sure if I am in love with it yet. I want to play this with more people to see how much, you know, better this game could get, because I played it with 2 people and it was fun, but it does have that kind of, you know, one person can say, oh, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and kind of like the game ruler. So that is an issue if you have that in your gaming group, but I want to play again with more people to see how this game actually plays with more. And I love the artwork, again, because it's Kingdom Rush and the minis are great. One more game I want to talk about is God Loves Dinosaurs. That's right here. Another game I played by Pandasaurus Games. This is like an economy type of game. It was very cool because I haven't really played a game like this of, you know, a very hierarchy of one thing eats another thing, and you're trying to make sure that you have enough, like say in an instance rabbits, so that you can feed your dinosaurs. So, you know, they'll go across and start eating rabbits and you'll take those off the board, but you don't want your certain type of animal to go extinct, because then your animals, the bigger animals, can't eat. So you're trying to make sure that they populate and grab tiles in the correct way so that you're able to make sure that you have enough of those different hierarchies so that everyone can eat and that you can gain points to gain eggs, and the eggs in this case are end game scoring. So very cool. I really love dinosaur game themes. That's probably one of my favorites. Like Paleo's more like, you know, Stone Age. I love that kind of era theme. So definitely check out God Loves Dinosaurs as well. Now that I've gone through all these different games, I hope I have helped you maybe undeciding on some of these games if you wanted to get them for yourself or you're thinking about some of these games. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Okay, so my first game, so we're gonna be counting down from my